Welcome to another episode of the SafeRack podcast. I'm Kenny Rogers, Vertical Market Specialist.
And I'm Ray Evans, Vertical Market Specialist for Chemical.
Today we're going to discuss a little bit about soft tissue injuries in the workplace.
And the most common injuries are muscles, tendons, and ligaments.
Yeah, it's one of the most overlooked safety concerns today in our industry. And it's just because it's indiscernible. Typically soft tissue injuries, the only person that's going to know about it is the person that got hurt. So, it's something that's not quantitative, not qualifiable, but it's certainly an issue in the industry. Not a lot of people know this, but in the manufacturing world, 40 plus years old or older is 45% of our population right now. That's kind of a staggering number, don't you think?
I believe it. Look at us.
Yeah, it's followed closely by 20 to 30 years at 29% and 30 to 40 years at 22%. But, a lot of people, not a lot of people are coming into our industry. And, we're getting a lot of people that are basically getting towards the end of retirement. So, soft tissue injuries have been a big issue and been in the forefront in company policy in the last couple of years.
To your point, we've got an aging workforce here in the United States and abroad.
Some of the common actions that cause these soft tissue injuries are, overexerting when you're pushing, lifting, pulling, or carrying objects, twisting, straining, reaching, bending, all of these things can, trigger, a lower back injury, elbow, knee, and such. Sometimes even falling, at the same level or from at height can also induce some of these soft tissue injuries, which, in our industry, what do we call that? Slips, trips, and falls?
Slips, trips, and falls. I mean, I personally, if I reach down too fast or I twist the wrong way, I have a little back problem.
Yeah.
It happens with age.
Yeah, some of these applications where you really have to worry about the lower back, specific to what we do, loading racks, safe access, is these loading arms and safe access systems. Tell me a little bit about the loading arms.
Well, typically with a loading arm, you want to make sure that it's properly balanced. So on the front end, we'll actually design a loading arm to work with the new equipment. But then when you're going to install the loading arm, it needs to be balanced. You have to have the proper structural steel support for that boom supported arm. Because if she's not plumb and square, then it's going to drift either inward or outward, and it's going to be difficult to maneuver.
A lot of times those loading arms are heavy with all of the, add-ons, high-level sensors. You have, what else do you have?
Oh, you could have dry disconnects. You could have a vapor cone. You could have a hatch plate cover. So all these add to the inch-pound weight at the end of the arm.
So would you recommend a PM schedule for those to kind of make them easier to use?
Absolutely. A minimum twice a year, I would have a preventive maintenance schedule on the arms.
Would you do that internally with your own maintenance staff, or maybe the manufacturers come out and do that?
Both. I would have probably on a monthly basis, your employees should be trained on it, and we can train operators on what to look for. But yes, at least once a year, you should have a factory rep come in and then tweak it and tell you what you need to do.
The same goes for access gangways. With these newer models that are out there, even if it's manual, they're fairly easy to use, but you still have to bend over and pull it up with the storage rope. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the gangways.
There again, if they're not properly balanced, they can be very hard to raise and lower, actually to raise up. So with an aging workforce, we're seeing a lot more companies spending the extra dollars and going with the pneumatic assist to raise and lower, not only with the gangways, but also with the loading arms.
Yeah, pneumatic assist. There's also electric options that are available out there as well.
Yes, they are.
In case you don't have air that goes out to your loading racks. And a couple of these solutions that we've done in the past. You did a wastewater treatment facility out west a few years ago, and it had a loading arm that was just really big on the reach. How did you guys come up with a solution for that?
Yes, that was a 6-inch sludge arm. with a very long. We had a long center line, so it has a long secondary, and we used a pneumatic power assist, not only to raise and lower, but we also had an actuator that made it pivot left and right.
You see that a lot in Europe, but seldomly see it over here in North America. But do you see trends towards more of that happening?
The U.S. is slow to change, but we are seeing it now. Yes, we're seeing a lot more automation.
Yeah, the same goes for this. The gangways themselves. The cement industry in particular that I'm heavily involved in, there are several companies out there that have seen that there's increased production. They see that they're actually getting customers come in more to their facilities whenever they have these powered gangways, because they're obviously easier to use, and they're using these things hundreds of times, which in the cement industry is huge. Whenever you have a driver who will have 6 or 7 deliveries in a day, they're getting up and to open their hatches, they have to go and use a gangway to open it, and then they have to go back up there and close it. So they're using it 2 times every time they go out there for a site visit. If they're doing 6 deliveries a day, that's 12 times a day they're having to lift these gangways into position.
And that's just
them.
one truck. A typical cement facility, you might have, 50 drivers in a day come through?
Yeah, some of the terminals will do 50. Some of the bigger plants can have up to 300 a day. So they're seeing high cycle rates, and they're really trying to cut down on these lower back issues, the soft tissue injuries that they're seeing. So in summary, take care of your best assets, which are your employees. Properly maintaining equipment with a PM schedule or upgrading equipment to power will reduce or eliminate lower back strains and soft tissue injuries.
I agree. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for listening.